So we're on the 4th floor of the southwesternmost corner of the Packard complex, which runs a quarter of a mile north of me, all the way to I-94. And we're in an area that's been collapsing over the last 20 years. I used to come up here because I liked it, but it wasn't until a couple years ago that I decided I wanted to do an installation up here. And I wanted to work with the columns that are still standing and use them as pedestals for what I decided would be a new pantheon of the gods. And because of the way I work now, I try and use only materials I find. So on the ground floor, there were these old television sets. The building, probably the last use of this complex, was as a storage facility. So what I ended up having to do was go back on the ladder with each television set and throw it. These are these old wooden, fake wood console TVs, which you can see fragments of laying around here. And I would put it on the ladder and I would climb the ladder while pushing it up the ladder until I got to the point where it would tip over the top. And I did that for every column standing, but I also did it for the columns that were on the ground, fallen gods, one behind us, and documented it until they started to get destroyed, and now there's only one left over there. And I'm amazed it's still standing, because even the ones that weren't knocked down by kids or other people who wanted to destroy them, they decayed just from weathering. Out here I have no control, I have no possession, I'm trespassing. I'm using materials that aren't mine to begin with. I have no control over whether someone's going to come into the building and knock it over, destroy it, if the building's going to get boarded up or torn down or collapse. The elements, there's so many variables that I have no control over. And so it's a real exercise in letting go, and letting go of the object as being important, because really the object isn't important. What's important is the process. For me, the reason I do it is because of what's happening to me while I'm doing it and what's going on in my mind and my heart when I'm working. The process is what's most important to me.
We landed in Detroit at a magic moment because it had perfect, almost California weather, perfectly clear skies, and beautiful, clear light, none of the humidity that you normally have both in the East Coast and the Midwest. And we just felt elevated somehow going there. And even though you had to be super careful walking up the rickety stairs with the whole steps missing, or as you walk down something, there might be literally a hole in the floor that your foot could go through. So you're reminded of that sort of edge to it, but mostly you're overcome by this very odd kinds of beautiful spaces that are unfolding in front of your eyes. I think the most surprising aspect of it really was that it wasn't so much focused on the ruination of things and the decline, but on the beauty of this industrial ruin, almost like an abandoned cathedral or monument.
I think artists or creative people can come into Detroit or grow up in Detroit, or it doesn't matter where they come from, but I think that people who think creatively, they don't look at Detroit or the areas and see the negative, they see potential. They see the potential of what could be, the potential ideas. They get a lot of ideas from Detroit. I don't know how many artists have come through who I've met who want to come back. They come and they see it and they think, oh my God, I want to come back here. They're drawn to it. But I think that artists are very important, and I mean, they're good at, they become important because they're good at trying to show things from a different perspective and maybe open people's eyes to different ideas. For years, I would take objects out of buildings and make sculptures with them and put them in a gallery, and sometimes I would do minimal things to them. But if I was to take the people out of the gallery into Detroit and walk them through a building and they saw those same objects in the ground, they wouldn't think of them as artwork. But when I would take them out of the buildings and put them on the wall in the gallery, suddenly they saw the beauty.
I think every time I come to Detroit and I'm in a site like this, I'm struck by how incredibly beautiful it is. there is this sense of a reminiscence and a loss, but in that some possibility of rebirth or revitalization. Artists like Hocking and Kaiser take the opportunity to see things in a different way and to recognize that in their new way of seeing, in innovation and creativity, the artist can play a fundamental role in the revitalization of a city. Institutions like the Institute for Humanities that offers the Kidder Commissioning Fellowship to artists like Paul Kaiser and the Open-Ended Group are critical in that process. And just to see the results of that in a piece like Plant is really extraordinary, us working together as a community. Perhaps in some way, we all go through this process. You know, it's all about being reconstituted, some kind of deconstruction, and the unique combination of things. And standing here in the Packard plant, it feels truly as if it's all about new beginnings, rather than the feeling of something that is in a state of disarray or lost.
I think I grew up with the notion of Detroit being a place that used to be so amazing and grand, and so many people who saw it like that and then saw it turn into something like this were nostalgic and felt sad and see decay and ruin as a bad thing, and on and on and on. But the way I guess I try and explain it is that this is all I've ever known. My whole life, what I've seen about Detroit is what we're looking at right now. One of the things I find really beautiful about a space like this is it shows how quickly, when we do something as humans to the earth, it shows how quickly nature just takes over when we leave it behind. Nature is just an amazing, powerful thing, and it's always in full force in buildings like this, where you can really see them turning into a cave, being taken apart by water. Just water takes them apart. So I'm really impressed. I'm in awe of nature in these spaces. But I also think there's something beautiful about the transition. I think that decay is thought of as a bad word, but really it's just maybe our own fear of the transition that usually comes along with decay, which is death. I mean, death of an idea, some kind of failure. To me, it's just a point in the cycle. It's just a cycle that keeps on revolving, and we're in the midst of a transition in Detroit, and I think there's always beauty in transitions, the same way there's a beauty in the transition from day to night or night to day, and it's a threshold, it's a magic hour, it's like this moment where I think there's a lot of beauty and mystery, and I mean, we're out here on a cold, gloomy day in Detroit. I'm starting to see little snowflakes, and I feel like this is a great place to be right now. I love it up here.